What? Jacqueline,
Yes.
Jacqueline, please connect with Professor Santosh Kumar, sir.
Yes.
And please keep on check in the attendees list. Is there any panelist person joined as an attendee?
Yes.
So please get in touch with all resource persons. Please.
Sir, we just
Yes, secretary. All email ID has been added.
एनपीएस वाला हाँ कर देते हैं आप लंच कर लो
Hello.
सर ठीक है, दूसरा वाला बता दीजिए। सर एक बार मैसेज कर देंगे सब स्पेलिंग मिस्टेक ना हो तो।
Jacqueline.
Yes, I can hear you.
Jacqueline, please keep on check in the attendees list. Is there any panelist or joined as a panelist or joined as a participant? So that we can convert as a panelist.
I'm checking. Good afternoon, sir. Yes, sir.
No. Oi.
के नियम होंगे ना कुछ कराने के नियम
Balaji, can
Yes,
you
sir.
hear me?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Your voice is audible. Hello. Yes, yes. You are
Hello.
audible, sir. Yes, yes. You are audible, sir.
And can you check with Dr. Vatsa?
Yeah, we are. Yes, yes. Sure.
Good afternoon, Dr. Santosh.
Good afternoon, Professor George. How are you?
Fine, fine, fine.
Nice. Your view is very good.
Yeah, the institute view, yes.
Yes, yes. You're sitting outside.
No, 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 I'm in my home. This is the background,
No,
yes.
sir,
Yeah.
this was the graphical design.
Yes,
So
it's a
why don't
virtual
you
package.
Balaji for us also? हमारा तो कुछ दिखता रहता है कमरे का जो बहुत shabby look है.
Sure, sir. We'll do next time.
Good morning, sir. Good morning, Josh, sir.
Good morning.
Good afternoon, yes.
Good.
I have followed up with Tamil Nadu and Assam, so they are joining in 2-3 minutes.
Okay, so they will be joining then, huh?
Sir.
Okay. अभी तो we have say 15 minutes or 10
Yes.
minutes.
So I'm clearly audible, right?
Yeah, yeah, very much.
Okay,
Yes,
good.
sir.
Hmm.
Sir, Santosh sir.
Jacqueline,
Sir, yes, sir.
could you see Dr. Vatsa?
Sir, no, Vatsa sir and GVV Salman sir has not joined yet, sir.
GP Sharma sir, he will not be there. He is not feeling. So,
Sir, I'll follow it up with Vatsa sir.
yeah, just I was spoken with him. Just check.
Okay, sir.
And ED office also, ED and IDM. Just check.
ET sir has joined, sir.
Okay, okay, good, good. What about the status of Tamil Nadu and Assam?
Sir, I just called both
Good
the
afternoon, sir.
states.
Sir, we are waiting for your.
Okay, they are there. Okay, friends, now we can start. This is just 2 minutes left. Good afternoon, everyone. Could you, hello, am I audible to all of you? Balaji, you can just
Yes, sir. Yes. You are very audible, sir.
Okay, visible and audible both.
Yes. Both good.
Good,
Seems
good. Thank you so much. So let us begin now.
Mhm.
Can we formally start now? And I think 90 delegates have already joined.
Yes.
89. So we can start now. So it's time is there.
Okay.
And just I was checking Dr. Vatsa if he has joined. Should I call him?
Yes. Jacqueline, member secretary NDMA.
He would not join.
He is not joining.
Feeling well.
Okay. Only Krishna, member Krishna Srinivasta, Dr. Krishna Srinivasta. Kindly, Jacqueline, can you please follow with Dr. Krishna Vasta, sir? Members NDMA.
See. Good afternoon, friends. Welcome to all of you from the National Institute of Disaster Management and National Disaster Management Authority, Government of India. This particular webinar is being jointly organized by both these two institutions, NIDM and NDMA. You must have heard about NDMA and NIDM codes. And this particular webinar is that you might be knowing that Prime Minister of India, Shri Narendra Modi ji, during the second Asian Ministerial Conference and the first Asian Ministerial Conference after the Sendai Framework in 2015, this Asian Ministerial Conference happened in 16, and he had given a 10-point agenda for taking disaster risk management in the Asian country, that how this can be taken up so that we can achieve the target of Sendai Framework of action, and also that we should link this with us climate change adaptation and sustainable development goal. This particular webinar is dedicated to PM 10-point agenda 2, that is on risk coverage must include all, and that is starting from poor household, small SMEs and multinational corporations to nation states and individual too. This is very, very important when we talk about the risk management and also risk coverage to all. and the Honorable Prime Minister has been taking up this as a very, very serious note, how this coverage can be taken up in India. As in India, we have been facing large disasters, and due to climate change, the intensity and also the frequency of disasters are going to increase. The impact of disaster on economy and on the people is looming large, as it has already touched 2% of the GDP per annum. So this is a very, very critical condition, and you might be seeing this COVID-19, and the television debate is talking about this economic impact of this COVID-19. So how we are going to go ahead in this scenario in the risk coverage to all. And we are aware that in the financing of risk management, National Institute of Disaster Management and NDMA have been working for the last many, many years. And of late, Insurance Institute of India and IRDA have also joined the Ministry of Finance to work together to take this agenda forward. Ministry of Home Affairs is also very keen to take up this risk financing in this. And today we have Dr. Krishna Vatsa, member of the National Disaster Management Authority, in our panel, and we have Major General Manoj Kumar Bindal, the Executive Director of NITM, and we have also Principal Secretary from the Assam State Disaster Management Authority and Tamil Nadu State Disaster Management Authorities, along with the Insurance Institute of India, Professor George. I take this opportunity and extend my a warm welcome from both the institution, NITM and NDMA, to all the distinguished delegates and all the delegates who have joined so far in this webinar from different parts of the country. I am Professor Santosh Kumar. I work with the National Institute of Disaster Management. So let me welcome once again all of you. And before I invite you and on this particular webinar, I wish to give you one information that the keynote speaker, Dr. Krishna Vatsa, he has been long years in the government as an Indian Administrative Service Officer from Maharashtra cadre, and he worked with the United Nations as the regional advisor and also as a global capacity development advisor located in New York. And in 2020, he has joined as a member of the National Disaster Authority, who would be giving the keynote address. And Mr. GVV Sharma, who is the member secretary, he is not keeping well. So he has conveyed his good wishes and regretted that he is not able to join today in a very, very important event. I also welcome Major General Manoj Kumar Bindal, who is heading this institution, National Institute of Disaster Management. In this particular scenario, when we say that how this is leading and NITM is taking a lot of work, but before I go and everything engaging all of you, we request Executive Director NITM, Major General Manoj Kumar Bindal, who has been giving this push to all these initiatives which have been taken by the institution as a leadership role. So I request Major General Bindal to welcome and also give the introductory remarks to this particular webinar. Major General Manoj Kumar Bindal. General Bindal,
thank you, Professor Santosh Kumar. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Please go ahead.
Okay.
Yes, I can hear.
So first of all, thank you. First of all, heartiest welcome to all the participants who have joined, and a very hearty welcome to Dr. Krishna Vatsa, member NDMA, for joining and gracing this webinar with his esteemed presence. And I also welcome Dr. George Thomas, who's a professor in Indian Institute of Insurance, Mumbai, Mr. M.S. Manivannam, CEO of Assam State Disaster Management Authority, and Mr. Jagannathan, whom I cannot see right now, from the Tamil Nadu State Disaster Management Authority, to this important discussion on PM 10-point agenda, in which the 15th Finance Commission will be discussed with relation to disaster risk reduction. We are aware that to address this uh, uh, political slugfest which follows each time the center allocates money for disaster relief, the 15th Finance Commission has attempted a transparent methodology for the disaster management. And a disaster index has been prepared that assigns scores to each state on probability, vulnerability. And in its first attempt to include state level disaster risk scores in resource allocation and address a serious deficiency in the previous state level allocations. The Commission recommended setting up of national and state disaster management funds for the promotion of local level mitigation activities. The Commission recommended retaining the existing cost sharing patterns between the center and states, which is 75 to 25 for all states and 90-10 for Northeastern and Himalayan states, for which for 2021, 28,983 crores have been allocated, out of which the share of the Union is 22,184 crores. The Honorable Prime Minister's 10-point agenda for disaster risk reduction has also outlined about building financial resilience risk coverage to all. Item number 2 of the agenda, 10-point agenda, it states that work towards risk coverage for all, starting from poor households to small and medium enterprises to multinational corporations to nation states. Currently, in most countries of the region, penetration of insurance is limited to only middle and upper middle income groups. So we need to think big and also think innovatively. States also have an important role in not just regulating, but also encouraging coverage for those who need it the most. In the Finance Commission, the total funds which are to be received under SDRMF, 40% will be for response and relief, 30% for recovery and reconstruction, and 20% for mitigation and 10% for capacity building of disaster response units and institutions. So in India, we have taken many bold steps to ensure financial inclusion and risk insurance for the poorest, like the Jan Dhan Yojana, Suraksha Bima Yojana, Fasal Bima Yojana. So these mitigation funds also will be used for local level of community-based interventions, and they're helping out in a big way. And large-scale interventions such as construction of coastal walls, flood embankments, though they reduce this total amount which has been allocated. So there is also a recommendation of allocation for long-term disaster recovery fund. And for this, PDNA needs to be, post-disaster needs assessment needs to be done in a detailed manner, which will give the clear indication of direct, indirect, and need assessment for long-term recovery. So we all know that the economic losses are still huge when it comes to disaster, and it is affecting our development and the public exchequer in a big way. The allocation of funds in the for DRR in the 15th Finance Commission is certainly a step to give new impetus in reducing disaster risk and economic losses, but it might not be very substantial as there is still a gap in building financial resilience and it should be worked upon. So it is important that we should give space to the insurance in financial planning of disasters also. So in this scenario, the attainment of PM 10-point agenda and the Sendai framework would become easier and the people will have resilience towards the disaster risk. Today, in next 1.5 hours, 15th Finance Commission and its recommendations and its ramifications on the ground are going to be discussed threadbare so that all the participants are able to understand it, and the district level participants, state level participants are also able to imbibe the lessons learned from today's webinar. With this, I finish my introductory remarks. Over to you, Dr. Santosh.
Thank you, General Bindal, for giving this insight of the Prime Minister's initiative on various financial inclusion and also some of the building resilience and and also on the Prime Minister which mentioned about this COVID-19 also, that how this would be taken up and insurance should be mandatorily covering all these. And the kind of mechanism which we need to draw, you have highlighted in this particular remark. We need to look at that how we are going to discuss in this to taking those agenda which you have flagged in the beginning. Thank you very much once again, General Bindal, for giving this introductory remark. Dr. Vatsa, I welcome you once again, Dr. Vatsa. You have been championing 15 finance commissions, different studies, and for building resilience. In India, we have NDRF, SDRF fund, Flexi fund, then line departments funds, then we have external funding, we have Prime Minister's Relief Fund, now we have PM Care Fund, we have externally borrowing kind of a ADB, and also this World Bank, then donors, CSR, plenty of other mechanism we had. Today we are discussing that how these to be executed, as Honorable Prime Minister has said, that to be taken at the grassroots level. And down the line, we have already completed 5 years of time. So time is also running out. And in this context, COVID-19 has already disturbed the rhythm of that execution, which we had planned earlier. And you were engaged heavily in drafting various studies and completing those studies, what the recommendations which Finance Commission has given for building financial resilience. Why the first time this inclusion of mitigation and as a kind of a fund, and also provision of this project-based and vulnerability inclusion, and so on and so forth. In India, you are also aware, and globally, that large kind of attempts are taken up. Like in Africa and in Caribbean countries, we are having some mechanism. In Turkey, which we had certain mechanism. In India also, we started with Gujarat earthquake, some mechanism for that. Latur, you yourself were engaged in the Latur earthquake, and after that you became relief commissioner in my state of Maharashtra. And we have 2 relief commissioners, and there is also here, along with the district magistrates, we have written to all the chief secretaries of the state, and we had also written to the district magistrates requesting them to join and see and get their perspective on the execution of this. So in this context, we had Mr. D. Jagannathan from Tamil Nadu and Mr. S. Manivanan from Andhra State Disaster. He might not be there, as he has just written that CM has called him for a meeting, and there is another meeting is going on, but maybe his representative, he is there. But I would request you to just, in your special address or keynote address, how do you see that India should be planning for execution with the state governments and the district authorities, and along with other stakeholders? With this, I take this opportunity to invite and give you the floor, Dr. Vatsa, for your deliberations. Your voice is not coming up, Dr. Vatsa.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
I can hear you.
Yes, Dr. Vatsa.
Good. Thank you. So now I have very limited time. I need to get out of this at 2:30. I have another meeting, so I will come straight to the point. As you know, the financing for disasters here in India is determined by the recommendations of the Finance Commission. And ever since the Finance Commission, which is a constitutional body, has been constituted, it has been providing recommendations for the disaster management. Initially, the entire allocation would be for relief. Over a period of time, the Finance Commission has started considering other aspects of disaster management, such as capacity building and preparedness. But the Finance Commission has, we are right now dealing with the 15th Finance Commission. So the 14, altogether 14 Finance Commissions have made their recommendations, and most of their recommendations actually have allocated money only for relief and response. And the allocation is generally made on the basis of the expenditures that the states have incurred. So they take the last 5 years expenditure and then add inflation and a few other things, and then they project the allocation for the next 5 years. So this has been a very simple expenditure based allocation, which has been criticized, because it does not take into account the risks that the states are exposed to. So the 15th Finance Commission actually started looking into alternative models of allocation of the resources. And a few months back, it has given its interim report 1 year this year, and soon we will get another report, which would be a full-fledged report, and which would be valid for the remaining 4 years. Now, in this report, which has now been accepted by the Union Cabinet as well as the Parliament, and it is now part of the budget, the main features are as follows: that there is a general allocation of a general increase in the allocation by about 114% over the last year. So there is a huge jump in the allocation to the states. So that's one a major feature of the Finance Commission's recommendations. Second, there are 4 funding windows that have been set up now instead of just one earlier. So there is a NDRF and SDRF, which is National Disaster Response Fund and a State Disaster Response Fund. And they would constitute 80% of the resources. And within this NDRF and SDRF, there would be 3 funding windows. The response would constitute 40%, recovery and reconstruction would constitute 30%, and the remaining would go to preparedness and capacity building. So that makes it 80%. The remaining 20% would be designated as the National Disaster Mitigation Fund and the State Disaster Mitigation Fund. So as a result, we have now 4 windows of funding related to 4 distinct functions of disaster management. So that's the second part. The third part is that earlier the National Disaster Response Fund would be linked to the taxes. There is a certain levy of contingency duty that would mobilize the resources. Now, since the GST has been introduced, that levy of duty has been removed. So the NDRF would be provided through the budget allocation. So for the first time, the Finance Commission has made a definite recommendation regarding the NDRF. And the final and fourth is the revised methodology. They have introduced a new methodology, and this new methodology represents actually a continuity with some change. The new methodology actually gives 70% of weightage to the expenditures incurred by the states. For the remaining 30%, it actually allocates the resources on the basis of the area and population. And once we have this 100%, based on the expenditures and area and population, then we weigh it with the risk index. The risk index is an index prepared for all the states. So it ranks the states on the basis of their risk and vulnerability. So so once we get the 100% figure, then we multiply it by the risk index, and then we get the final figure. So we have three considerations at work while allocating the resources. One is the expenditure, second is the area and population, and third is the risk index. So this is how the allocations have been determined at the state level. At the national level, the allocation has been determined at on the basis of the expenditure, because it is largely reactive, so there is no reason for doing it on the basis of expenditure or area and population. It is at the national level. So these are the four, I think, major departures from the earlier financing scheme. I would recap it again. A more than 100% increase. Second, 4 funding windows. Third, the revised methodology consisting of expenditure, area and population, and risk index. And fourth, the NDRF allocation through budgetary provision. In addition, the Finance Commission has suggested that there would be earmarked allocation for a specific hazards and disasters. So what are those earmarked allocations? One is the expanding and modernizing fire services. It has allocated 1,000 crores for that for the current year. Second is the just one second. Hello. Okay. Sorry. So one is the expanding and modernizing fire services. So for the current year, they have allocated 1,000 crores. Second is the resettlement of displaced people affected by coastal and river erosion, 200 crore rupees. Then there are 4 mitigation priorities. One is the catalytic assistance to 12 most drought affected states, 240 crores. Then managing seismic and landslide risk in 10 hill estates, rupees 150 crores. Rupees 250 crores. Then reducing the risk of urban flooding in 7 most populous cities, rupees 500 crores. And then mitigation measures to prevent coastal and river erosion, rupees 300 crores. So these are the earmarked allocations, targeted at some of the most prominent risks that the country is exposed to right now. So and that also speaks of the prioritization of allocation. Now, this is basically the sum and substance of the recommendations. Now, what is important here is that we have now, there are clear implications of these recommendations. We have now 4 funding windows related to the 4 different functions. Now, it's very important that those 4 functions need to develop in a systematic way. We should devote full attention to preparedness and capacity building, recovery and reconstruction, mitigation and response. So far we have not really paid much attention to mitigation or recovery or reconstruction, even preparedness and capacity building. So the Finance Commission has suggested that we develop the guidelines for all the 4 funding windows, and we develop it properly. We really spread it across the country, and we help the states and districts to develop these functions. When we are saying we should develop these functions, it means that you also develop the capacities for carrying out these functions. So the implication again here is that the NDMA and the state disaster management authorities and district disaster management authorities should rise to the occasion, should organize themselves, and should augment their own capacities to lead these functions. The way these authorities are functioning right now, they are far below their capacity. They cannot really take these responsibilities and spend the allocations as determined by the Finance Commission. So it's very, very important that the SDMAs and DDMAs really reorganize themselves, augment their capacities, and take these functions or implement these functions in the which is envisaged both by the Disaster Management Act as well as the Finance Commission recommendations. The earmarked allocations are also very, very important, because there is a huge amount of money that needs to be spent, in just 1 year. And these earmarked allocations go on from 1 year to another. So, these earmarked allocations are available for the entire cycle of 5 years, which means that we need to pay very close attention to all the allocations and really implement the programs meant for them. So we need to formulate these programs and implement them on the ground and ensure that we get the results which are expected. And finally, we also need a huge amount of support from the NIDM and SIDM for all the functions which are envisaged, which means that NIDM and SIDM also need to step up and provide the requisite support to the NDMAs and the SDMAs and DDMAs. As you know, the DDMAs so far have not been very institutional, so it is time that DDMAs also become a substantive authority in terms of disaster management planning and implementation. So these are some of the challenges and opportunities that have come up in the wake of the Finance Commission recommendations. It is really a turning point for the DRR in India in the sense that never before had we so much of resources available for all the different components of disaster management. The first time we have got these resources in a structured way. And we need to just organize ourselves to lead or carry out the disaster management sector in a balanced manner. COVID-19, of course, is a big spanner, has thrown a big spanner in the works, but COVID-19 also is an opportunity in many ways that most of the action is being led at the district level. So what is important is that this is a clarion call for re-energizing the District Disaster Management Authority, which has been sleeping so far. And I think we need to empower the District Disaster Management Authorities to lead the campaign against COVID. So again, this is we need to look at it as an opportunity, and now we need to work closely with the Ministry of Health, Department of Health to deal with this COVID. Overall, Finance Commission recommendations can really be a big transformative set of recommendations, provided we understand the implications, provide the vision for implementing them, and really take up the institutional development that is so much necessary. So that is all that I have to say right now. I'm sorry I have to leave the meeting. I have another meeting. But at some point, maybe I will join after half an hour and then I will take a few questions from you. Thank you.
Dr. Vatsa, we will not hold you because I had a couple of questions connected with your presentation.
Yeah. I will take it later.
Yeah, sure. So we can. Thank you so much, Vikas.
Thank you.
We will look forward to meet you again. And
yeah, sure. I will come back. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Friends, now we have Dr. Vatsa has mentioned that there are 4 areas and 4 windows. And he also emphasized on the SDMAs and the DDMAs have to come up and rise to the occasion for executing this, as the money is not a problem which the state government always used to flag this. Earlier, the state government was always talking about NDRF and the SDRF money, which was available for relief money. Now, in the entire gamut of building resilience, and especially financial, as he mentioned, that the entire this Finance Commission recommendation has come up for 80%, as you said, that it will remain as an NDI as a response fund, which all the states might be needing. But the rest of the 20% and money which has been allocated to building capacity for response, building capacity for the recovery and rehabilitation, and also the preparedness and capacity development. This is very, very important, that how these money and these available funds which have been given by the state, and another is mitigation fund. The 20% is the mitigation fund. How these institutions are ready, and first, whether the state government are aware of the recommendations of the Finance Commission for taking this agenda forward for building finance, and in what way they are thinking as a SDMA and DDMA level. We are here, I don't know, can we hear from Mr. Jagannathan from Tamil Nadu? Is he there on the line?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, okay. So may I request Dr. Jagannathan of Tamil Nadu, the CEO of the Tamil Nadu State Disaster Authority, and Dr. Vatsa, you must have listened to him. And he's saying that larger responsibility is now falling at the state level and the district level authorities. And taking the current scenario of the state disaster authorities and the district authorities capacity, how do you think and the state is planning to take this agenda forward in this, Mr. Jagannath, Mr. D. Jagannath?
Sir, good evening, sir. Good evening to our executive.
Good
Am I
evening.
audible?
Yeah, please.
Yeah. Good evening to our executive director NADL, the member NDMA, and Professor Santosh Kumar, and I think the another speaker, Mr. Manivanan and Thomas George. There was some initial confusion connecting the thing. Now I think I'm audible. Regarding the Tamil Nadu state, this year, unfortunately, because of these COVID and other things, even though we have planned it for the mitigation fund separately, that is around 20% we have set apart for the mitigation, and we have planned it in the month of February. Normally, every year we used to spend around 200 to 300 crores from the state government fund for the mitigation works, without expecting the SDRF. Normally, we will be doing with our public works department, particularly the irrigation channel, and the flood-prone places. Our system goes like this. We will be identifying the highly vulnerable areas, and what is the reason for these areas to get inundated during the flood. And once these areas are identified, we will be identifying the reasons for this inundation also. And the concerned department will be called for an inspection, and they will be giving the proposals to the district administration. And we try to utilize the various scheme funds for mitigating that particular area problem. And if they are able to do it within the district allocation by the collector DDMA, then the problem will be sorted out. If they are not able to do, they will be referring to the state government, and at the state government level, we will be giving the separate fund. And this recently now we are having our talks with the World Bank also, particularly the Chennai district and nearby districts, around 1,200 crores for this project for mitigation some of the flood prone areas. You know about the Chennai floods 2015, and we have spent the money in 2018 as well as 19, and now this year we have identified the places, and we are expecting the World Bank project to chip in. So that is our basic framework. Within that we will be working. Fortunately, this year the 15th Finance Commission has recommended a separate allocation of 20% out of the SDRF funds. So that means we will be getting around 272 crores for this year out of the allocation of 1,360 crores. So we have planned for 272 crores, but the entire allocation of 1,360 crores for this financial year, we overshoot it for the COVID purposes. Now we have given sanction for around 1,700 crores out of our allocation of 1,360 crores within the span of nearly 5 months, even though our northeast monsoon has not been started. And we request the funds from the for the COVID purpose from the central government, and if it materializes, that is well and good. Otherwise, we have to manage with our state government fund. This project, as I said earlier, is ready for the mitigation, and our departments and the districts are finely tuned to that, to where exactly we have to do the mitigation works, and we will be doing it accordingly. There is no issues about identification and other things. Regarding the community participation also, thanks to our World Bank project CDRRP, that is a coastal disaster risk reduction project that was implemented for the last 4 years. We have involved the communities, particularly in the coastal districts. Nearly 13 districts are there, and these districts, communities have been involved. The Panchayat Raj institutions, local bodies, and the community volunteers. All these persons have been stakeholders have been involved. But we thought of actually using the capacity building allotted for this year for non-coastal districts. That also now it has been stuck up because of the lack of funds, and because of the COVID situation, we were not able to spread our net into the non-coastal districts. And if the community participates as per our program in the coastal districts, in the non-coastal areas, and I hope the community itself will come out with a lot of initiatives, lot of proposals where they are needing the funds to mitigate the disasters. So the community participation, the local bodies, particularly the elected representatives in the urban as well as the rural local bodies, that is very crucial for this mitigation problem. Even though the officials are there, the particular community is involved, we will be sorting out, we will be identifying a lot of areas where our funds can be properly utilized, and the proper utilization of these funds can also be found out. So our thing is, now we are closing our eyes, we are actually seeing what we are going to do with the available funds. Only 1 month is there for the October season to start, October, November, December. And if any serious problems are there, we have already given instruction to the district to use the existing schemes to overcome some problems, immediate problems, so that this Northeast monsoon we will be overcoming successfully. But for the long term, this mitigation fund is very, very essential, and we have given our suggestions for guidelines also. Central government has to come out with the guidelines, and we have given our suggestions also. These guidelines are coming out properly, and we can use the guidelines to come out with the proposals, and with the mitigation fund, I think the long run we can overcome the problem. And for our information, I think I want to say that based on the Sendai framework of 2000, that is for 13 years project, Tamil Nadu state was one of the pioneer state to come out on the perspective plan, state perspective plan for 15 years, 2015 to 2030. And based on that plan, the districts have been instructed already to come out with a similar perspective plan. The line departments have also been instructed to come out with a perspective plan regarding the departments. And every annual year, we are asking the districts as well as line departments to come out with a disaster management plan for the annual plan, incorporating all these points in their plan. So that is in brief regarding the Tamil Nadu state. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Jagannathan. This was a very, very insightful and informative deliberations from Government of Tamil Nadu, and you represented that as a panelist. And you mentioned about this preparedness of the Tamil Nadu government and how you are going to have a kind of a mitigation also when the perspective plan of 15 years. We will get back to you and we will have a couple of questions before we go to the audiences. But first, we also need to listen to Assam, how Assam is doing. And then we have collectors have also joined, other stakeholders have also joined in this webinar. We have more than 200 participants who are attending this webinar, and they will be having some questions with you also. But before for questions, we have two presentations, and that will also come to. Please listen to them also, and we will also get back to you. So now this is the time to request Mr. Manivanan from Assam State Disaster Authority. If he is around, or if he is not around, then we can have his general manager who was entrusted this task from him to make a presentation and say that how government of Assam, who is undergoing through a huge flood currently, and seeing this, that how the financial resilience will be built in the context of that Prime Minister agenda points to. Mr. Manivanan, Assam State Disaster Authority may take on, please. Can I have? Are you there? Assam State Disaster Authority.
Yes, sir, they are here.
Yeah, please give this command to him.
Hello.
Hello. Yeah,
Hello.
you are audible. Please go ahead.
Good afternoon, sir. My video is not coming. I think Manivanan sir is not there, so sorry for he regrets to. He has got a meeting with the chief minister, so he couldn't attend. But
Yeah, this is message. Please go ahead.
yes, yes. I am Rajesh Datta. I am from Assam State Disaster Management Authority. I'm engineering consultant for earthquake risk mitigation and landslide mitigation. Sir, it's basically Assam has convened a meeting for state disaster response mitigation management fund with all the concerned departments last month only, and we have specified all the what are the provisions there for structural measures and non-structural measures in that 15th Finance Commission suggestions. Till the guidelines is yet to come, but we have told all the departments, participating departments, that they should prepare projects for that. What are the criteria for choosing the projects? So it's most of the departments are. I have identified some projects and they are working on it, and we are likely to have some projects, mitigation projects for this. For this funding. Besides that, we feel in Assam that for a disaster financing, disaster risk reduction financing, we need to have a DRR roadmap. So in Assam, we are in a process of, we are undertaking a consultative process for framing a disaster risk reduction roadmap for the state, and the process is on. We are mostly done 4-5 levels of this discussion, and maybe in the next year we are coming up with a DRR roadmap for the state. And so whenever we will be having that roadmap, the concerned department will be more proactive, and they might have some planning for what will be the budgetary provision, the need for this disaster risk mitigation and other activities. So they will be more prepared with that. But till now, we have told all the departments to prepare their and identify the projects. So these are the some of the things we have done at this very beginning of utilizing the mitigation projects. Besides that, Assam is hugely impacted by erosion. Erosion is one of the major problem in both Barak Valley and for this Brahmaputra Valley also. For we are facing each and every year, lots of land has been devastated due to erosion. So erosion mitigation is one of the key projects will be taking care under this mitigation fund. These things we thought about for a mitigation, and we are also thinking for other funding also for like CSR funding for Assam State Disaster Management Authority has created a fund pool, a separate fund pooling for CSR funding, and we got this CSR fund from Coal India, Apollo Hospital, just to begin with. So we are getting some collecting some CSR funding also, just to go for need-based mitigation projects. So these are some of the initiative we have started with. Let's look forward when the guidelines will be there, how to utilize the funding and all. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much for giving insight that how Assam is planning and long-term planning which you are going to get engaged with. As you remember and if you recall, in the initial remark we started with what General Bindal has mentioned, and I also flagged that this particular thing which also we wish to know from the states, and many states are also have joined here. They might be having this question to all of you. They wish to learn from each other. And in this particular webinar, we have 2 states identified, Assam and Tamil Nadu. Maybe in the next webinar, we will have some more. But idea is to how to build what Honorable Prime Minister is saying, that building financial resilience and bringing everyone in the kind of a gamut of this insurance and micro in our financing, MSMEs and other, all are going to get this financial resilience. As you are aware that we started with 500 crores. That was the calamity relief fund long back in the country when this all disaster response fund started. And today in the Finance Commission recommendation, 15th Finance Commission is talking about 1 lakh, almost crossing 1 lakh crores. So 1 lakh crores and 500 crores, you can very well imagine that how much money is going in the post-disaster relief. And if you say any economist, this money is going for ex gratia as protecting the life of the people. And that is the concern. But it means that disaster is increasing and financial assistance by the government has also increased. But we have not been able to develop our another financial tools which can actually share the burden of the state when the people get affected. So in this perspective, I would request Mr. George, Professor George from India Insurance Institute of India, Mumbai. He is there from Mumbai, and has been working on this area. And I was telling that we are looking at different countries' experience, and they are bringing insurance as a kind of another additional financial tool which can help the state government in sharing the financial burden. So, Professor George, I would request you to kindly share and how the state government can actually capitalize these financial tools at the time when we are discussing in the working group, and also we are discussing at the different levels. Professor George.
Thank you very much, Dr. Santosh Kumar. I am just trying to show a couple of slides. I don't know whether Balaji or somebody can help me in, because so far the share content link was.
Sure. Please wait, sir. I'll make you as a presenter.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fine.
You can share your slide.
I hope you know you can share the slide, Mr. George.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, it is coming.
Is it visible?
Yeah, it's loading. Yes, it's all right. Can you please do the full screen?
Yeah, I think you can say it, right?
Yeah, it's perfect. Please go ahead, sir.
So friends, thank you very much for inviting me to speak at this occasion. It's really happy. I'm really happy to be here with you all, and thanks to NIDM and to the 15th Finance Commission courtesy by which I'm here. And I'm really happy to see more than 200 people who are discussing on this pet area of mine, where we have been working with where I've been working with NIDM and NDMA for the last 15 years plus. I am presently with the Insurance Institute of India, and at the Insurance Institute of India level also, we are working a lot along with these 2 premier organizations like NIDM and NDMA for helping the country in standing on its own feet when it comes to disaster management. So we are very much, as an institution, Insurance Institute of India, we are very much with you all in making the PM's agenda number 2, risk coverage for all. Risk coverage must include all, starting from poor households to SMEs to MNCs to nation states. we are happy to be part of all that, and we are already working into this. I will, during the course of my 10 minutes, I'll be mentioning to you some of the initiatives which we have already done in this. But presently, let me start at the subject from an academic perspective. So this is the first part of a risk which is easily transferable, which has been done or done to a large extent. This is the easily measurable part of risk. Whether it is personal insurance, life, health, livelihoods, assets, liabilities, then the corporate level. So these things the country has achieved. I'll explain that further. Then there are things which are not so easily transferable. Here I am speaking about things which cannot be easily measured. Insurers are there to take over risk. There is their business, but they need a lot of support and a lot of clarity if they have to do that, because nobody wants to end up in the lurch after taking over risk, because there is a major worry of insurance companies when they deal with a lot of risks. I'll come to that. There are risks again which are residual. These are beyond insurers and reinsurers, beyond insurance contracts, and about failed contracts. So these things are again, there is another segment. So I'm basically compartmentalizing the risk which we are talking about. The first part, A, is something which we are already dealing with. B, we are dealing with in a little bit, and that is our major focus for today. That is whatever the residual part of A and the new areas which are coming in from B. The third part is the residual risk, which is beyond reinsurers, which will come back to the insurance, to the government in the case of failures, and in the case of insurers getting bankrupt or things going beyond their capacity. There are risks which cannot be transferable. That is like the war risk and radiations and environmental pollution. So now let us look at things in a little more detail. This is what we have achieved, friends. In life and accident, in all these areas, insurance companies are there. Plus, the government has brought in its own measures. In life and accidents, we have got the PM-JJBY, the PM Suraksha Bima Yojana. The health and accident, again the accident Suraksha Bima comes in, and the PM-JAY Ayushman Bharat comes in. In livelihood, also we get we have the Fasal Bima Yojana, and also the adult pension scheme as well. When it comes to liabilities, we see the Motor Vehicles Act, the Employee Compensation Act, the Public Liability Insurance Act, which makes it mandatory for certain classes of business to be insured, which includes the motor third-party insurance, what we used to call as the workman's compensation, which is coming as employee compensation, and public liability for people dealing with hazardous goods. Loans, there are loans which are being dispersed to people, and lending agencies the insurable part, which is already known to us, the measurable part, which the commercial insurance companies are already aware of and already trying to. So these things, and then maybe the governmental infrastructure would be coming as a second stage. That is, it is not that every single infrastructure of the government would be covered from day one. So let us look at certain answers. One is why insurers are not jumping forward and jumping with joy and covering all this insurance, all these areas. There are reasons. Insurers are in the business of taking risk. Insurers look forward to opportunities to insure. But then the NatCat perils and the losses that they create are of that extent, of that magnitude, that it can wipe out the risk carrier. Simple, an insurance company, any big insurance company, had that company been insuring the entire Kerala area for floods, she would have been wiped out with what happened in Kerala. So many years of reinsurance premium, maybe 50 years of reinsurance premium would have been nothing in front of the kind of onslaught which we saw in Kerala, or similar kind of thing where we saw a few years back in Chennai, and what we have faced in multiple areas of the country. So reinsurers and insurers, they cannot be expected to be that upbeat and jump in and take up all the risks on their own. The government need to interact more and engage with the real stakeholders in this entire game, insurers and reinsurers. I had voiced this at the 15th Finance Commission meeting as well, that there should be a bigger say for insurers and reinsurers. And they would be the people who are designing policies, analyzing how much of risk they can take, how much of risk an insurer can take, and how much of it should be passed on to reinsurers. Because reinsurers look at the entire world as their canvas, and there it is easier for them to handle risk. The way we are spreading risk across the country, they can help us in spreading the risk across the world. Insurers do expect growth in business. They expect volumes. They expect cash flow. So they don't want cash to be choked at some point of time, and they want that movement to happen. For insurers to be in the game, they need to measure and estimate the loss. They need to work on past data and project future losses. The government needs to help them in all of these. So without the past data, without reliable, systematic, dependable past data, it'll be very difficult for insurance companies to work on the frequency and the severity of the losses, how severe a loss can happen and how much money would be required to pay the losses. They need to have they will be having the concern of capital adequacy if something goes wrong. If a tsunami strikes, if an earthquake strikes, if a flood or a cyclone strikes, how much money would have to be paid? They need to be planning for it, and they need to have their adequate capital. So they are concerned, and they have got their systems of placing risk with their reinsurers, but everything starts with being able to measure and estimate correctly, or to the extent, at least to some extent, estimation should be there. So for that, the government needs to help insurance companies. Managing loss, insurers can't afford to insure certain small segments. There were insurance companies who tried to do that just before the tsunami. I know of an insurance company who insured around 50 villages which were on the coastal line, and they had to pay quite a lot of money after the tsunami happened. So there are, an insurance company can't take over this entire spectrum of risk at a small area. We need to have large numbers and the entire country to work with. Insurance companies need to be protected from ruin, because if we start off with the insurance scheme all across the country today, and within a few months, if something happened, the insurance companies would not have built enough money. So there should be some kind of a support from the government. Okay, if things go beyond your head, beyond even the reinsurer said, we are there to support you. It's an assurance. Sovereign support as insurer of last resort is also required. That is, if losses cross a defined threshold. That is, the insurers will do their best in estimation. They would charge as much possible as risk commensurate premium. They would do their reinsurance part well. They'll do their retentions, everything done, but still there could be things which go wrong, and there they need the government support. Maybe they need tax incentives, they need better understanding from the government. And another thing, insurers, we tell them under the rural and social obligation of the insurance companies that they have to work with people beyond the geographical and social mainstreams. It is not viable for insurance companies to work with them unless the government gives them some kind of understanding. Because if you have to send out your officer to the rural area, to people who are poor, who are really poor, it is very difficult for insurance companies to be sustainable in that. The claims cost itself can go too high. So they need models whereby they can work with the people in the mainstream. I'm coming to that on the next slide, in the perspectives of insured. So insurers, the insured need to understand the awareness. They need to have the financial literacy to understand what insurance is all about. They need access to insurance, that is, they need to understand what insurance is, and then officers and people who will sell them insurance. And that should be beyond those who provide loans, mortgages, and hypothecation services. Friends, often in many of the developing countries, it is those who provide loans, mortgages, and hypothecation who sell. I mean, who push people to buy insurance, and such insurance actually becomes only a hedging of the loan that they have been given, and they are not actually work. They don't actually work for the benefit of the insured, but it will be in often cases it is a middleman who whose risk is being covered there. So we need to work beyond them. We need to work at affordable prices. Insurance should make sense for the people after they understand insurance to buy insurance. It should be within their capacity to pay. If they need subsidies, the government may have to give them that. But I am not at a personal or academic level. I don't support subsidies because it can create charity hazards. Government should support partially and only for a limited period, because long period of government support would be a considerable drain on the exchequer, and that is not the entire purpose that we are working on. We want to pass on a governmental responsibility to a commercial entity, that is insurance mechanism, whereby it sustainably works. Insurance companies get the premium from the insured and from the pool that they create, so they need to pay the claims without getting any governmental support. That is what we try to do, and that is what we want the government to do. And for that end, if government is going to pay the premium forever and ever, it is not the right way to handle things. I mean, that's my take on that. That is, we need to make it in a sustainable manner. Government can help. There can be regulatory incentives, tax swaps. There should be ease of business of doing, of lodging claims, documentation. The persons in the village, they should know how to work. There should be mechanisms to get mainstream through mutuals, cooperatives, and community-based organizations. Otherwise, we are never going to cover the rag pickers of the country, the migrant laborers of the country, the goat rearers, the cattle rearers in the hills of several states. If we were to reach out through them, there's only one way for insurance companies to be able to reach out through them in a commercially viable manner without burning a hole in their pocket. That is working through mutuals, cooperatives, and community-based organizations. There are international bodies which are working on this. We from Insurance Institute of India have worked with the ICMIF, that is International Body for Mutuals, Cooperatives, and Community-Based Organizations. We have worked with them. We have done research for them. We have done research for the National Housing Bank, for which where we have told them how to insure the houses and make the house owners protected. We have worked with the GIC of India, General Insurance Corporation of India, to create models so that people can be saved and protected from floods in Mumbai. So there are various ways whereby the Insurance Institute has worked on it, but that apart, these are the kind of cautions and the care which the government has to take and understand the perspectives of the insurance companies as well as that of the insured for making this entire dream of risk coverage for all, risk coverage including everyone, starting from poor households, SMEs, MNCs, nation states, everyone. If you are to insure, we need to take care of these points, and this can be detailed, this needs to be worked out. And I'm happy that NIDM and NDMA and III are already started off with a working group to work on this, which is also going through, it's also going on parallelly. And thank you very much for a patient hearing. I'd be happy to answer any questions in case you have any. Thank you very much.
George, for giving this insight. And questions are coming now. House is open for question. And in this context, first of all, like we have been talking about insurance, and we are taking a journey from indemnity insurance to parametric and index-based insurance, just to take care of the insurers, not only insurers' interest, but also that the people who are taking insurance. So payout is very, very challenging thing, and questions are also coming in the chat box. that how that agricultural insurance, whether the justice is being done in the agricultural insurance to the people who have taken insurance in their payouts, and other issues also would come. But before I come to the insurance questions straight away, we just need to look at certain kind of options where the state government, they made a presentation, and many other state government or other stakeholders are participating in this webinar. Dr. Vatsa will join maybe another 10-15 minutes. We will also get back to him. But how this ex-ante financing, which I was telling Dr. Vatsa mentioned about the 15 Finance Commission proposals on mitigation, preparedness, all ex-ante, not ex-post, not after disaster, but we're talking about ex-ante financing, which includes, we are talking about contingency funds, predefined budget, reallocation, contingent credit, alternative risk transfer mechanism, catastrophe bond, and so on and so forth. So how these financial tools, you think that state government, we could listen to them, but larger in going on the investment or the risk reduction measure in terms of building resilience. How these financial allocations given by Finance Commission and also as a product are being in the discussion at the state level. Now we have two states, Assam and Tamil Nadu. Can you throw some light? Can I request Mr. Jagannathan first from the Tamil Nadu, how you see this insurance as an option in the planning for disaster resilience or building financial resilience in the state? As you said that you have 15 years perspective plan already in place, whether insurance and micro insurance or this kind of a contingent financial planning is finding some place in your mitigation or building financial resilience in the state from Tamil Nadu?
Yeah, yes, sir. Actually, regarding the insurance sector, the risk transfer instruments like insurance is very good or helpful to the in respect of farmers. Prime Minister Fasal Bima Yojana. So that scheme, the crop insurance, and it is very, very beneficial. But unfortunately, this insurance sector has not taken the house, particularly in the rural areas, that too in the coastal areas. The houses have not been insured. The individual assets of the farmers, poor persons have not been insured. They are not aware. The housing sector insurance in only in urban areas where the persons are availing the loan, then only the insurance sector is chipping in. In the rural areas, in the coastal districts, particularly the fishermen or the poor fellows, farmers, no, so far, no chance at all. And I think we have to concentrate in this area because risk coverage for all means, even though the government under SDRF is giving some money, NDRF money we are giving, but that will not be sufficient for the person to reconstruct the house. What we are giving is actually a nearly 5 years, 6 years old rates. And that rate will not be sufficient for the person at the current rates, market rates, to construct or reconstruct, come out of the house. And I think I request, actually our professor, Dr. Thomas Charge, to study this particular sector, vulnerable areas, coastal areas, farmers, fishermen, housing sector, to how to have some insurance policy for them, where the state government or the central government may also chip in the premium amount. There may be some subsidized portion. The individual may contribute some portion, say about 50% of the premium. The balance 50% may be shared by the state as well as the central government. If we are able to come out with some new scheme like that, I think that may give some ownership for the risk resilience factor for the individual house owners also, as well as the burden of the state government and central government will be somewhat lessened.
Yeah, it's very, very insightful comments you have made in response to our question in terms of that how it could be utilized. And you suggested a risk shared model, like where the state government, national government, and also the insurance companies can come together and think of taking off those assets, which was the Tamil Nadu government has felt that money given by the state government to the affected communities or individuals in the form of SDRF, that is not sufficient enough. And Tamil Nadu has seen agriculture insurance as a kind of a successful thing. I had a presentation also from Tamil Nadu government in the past, And so those experiences, how that positive stories can be brought in. And you have mentioned that, and sharing risk in this context, what Tamil Nadu has said, what is this take on building financial resilience from Assam? Assam is regularly getting affected by floods. And every time you go on this kind of a spending, the ex gratia or maybe SDRF funding. What is the plan in building financial resilience, as Tamil Nadu government suggested, could be seen as one of the options in building financial resilience as in insurance? Can I hear from Assam?
Yes, we are also looking into the matter. Till date, it's only the agricultural insurance, crop insurance is a tool the agricultural department is taking. This is on mark scale allocation of insurance policy and all. But as Tamil Nadu was mentioning about, we are also thinking of in our DRR roadmap how to go for infrastructure insurance as well as house insurance in the at the very grassroots level. How we can insurance the livelihood assets. This is one of the things we find it's very much essential to insure the livelihood assets. So we talked in various platforms for ensuring how to go for livelihood asset insurance, and we are trying to build up a network of this monitoring system for this that automatic weather stations and the rainfall pattern in that, how to correlate with the insurance policy along with the crop yielding and other things. So we are discussing these issues in various platform, and at least the concerned departments now start thinking about that they have to go for insurance in a mass scale. And it should be a regular process, and all the stakeholders in starting from the community level to big houses, they have to think for this insurance policy. And we are discussing in our Altama in some other webinar that how NIDM can help us to or NIDM can come out with a uniform policy framework for disaster risk insurance. I think NIDM can help us in that. This is a suggestion from our side that how NIDM can think of a uniform policy framework for disaster risk insurance. And not only that, they have to suggest an action plan also, because states are not so much having capacity to go for this sort of high-yield policy framework. So maybe all states or SDMAs will be benefited if NIDM come out. This is one thing. Then I will request NIDM just to give us a capacity building support for government department and agencies in risk transfer instruments, because departments are aware that these things still whenever we are discussing that DRR issues in the disaster risk reduction roadmap consultative process, so various departments are coming with lots of queries about these issues. We are not having the capacity for this assessing the risk financing and other things, how to map the risk and all. So I think department specific capacity building drive can be given by this NIDM. So this is a request for just for risk financing on. Thank you. I think.
Thank you very much for highlighting and also seeking appeal for seeking this support from an IDM. Every state, like when we are talking about what is this understanding and literacy of this risk financing tools, that is very, very important to understand. Like Tamil Nadu has implemented successfully. You also mentioned that we have implemented agriculture insurance successfully. How that can documented first and can be taken to the other sector. As you said, that many sectors are coming. And internationally also, that what we are saying, that any country, those who have adopted, this does not mean that they had the expertise much before and they've gone into this. Initial support was provided by different institutions who are engaged in this. Like many of the places, World Bank has set up some of the funding. ADB has done some initiative. Like their own institutions have worked on. So similarly, NIDM and NDMA can work together on the appeal which you are talking about. And this is very important. And, what happened in the World Humanitarian Summit, which happened in 2016, October, where this we call the UN Framework for Convention of Climate Change. There also, this was the Article 8 of that mentioned that need for comprehensive risk assessment and management, including the use of insurance to address loss and damage for climate change. If you remember, in the opening remark, General Bindal has mentioned about that post-disaster need assessment. And that is one that for any insurance product, Mr. George has also mentioned, you need to understand the potential loss. What is the probability of loss going to happen? And one of this report I was looking at in the ASEAN context, more than $680 billion is a expected loss due to disasters in coming years. So when we assess individually at the state level, what is our probabilistic loss assessment? There we need to have a technical intervention at all levels, and then we can plan on how much finance we have available, how much we can get from the Finance Commission, how much we can get from the people, and how much state resources and how much. First, we need to understand that what is the typology or the kind of a landscape of loss. That is very, very important to understand in the context of what Mr. Vatsa said, that disaster indexing, your vulnerability and your expenditure which you are making for all the 5 years. Very good on that, and thank you very much for this. Now, one question which came, I think the two states are there, they can respond to that, about this agriculture insurance, and where both the states have shown that the agriculture insurance have been a successful model for Tamil Nadu as well as Assam. I wish to know that many of the other states are also apprehensive about this, but agriculture insurance, what the Prime Minister's Jan Dhan Yojana is also there, and as a health insurance and all. These insurance are coming up, and also you see that this particular time after the COVID-19, the entire consumer behavior has changed. And yesterday there was a debate, and I was listening to that. I just wish to inform that how that consumer's mind could be understood. There they are saying that maximum increase which is happening in the life insurance company, these are the people have gone for the insurance during the COVID time. And the reason which they were highlighting is that mainly because that people have got worried due to COVID-19. They do not know when the life will end. So they are trying to ensure that family is into a position where they can take care of. The government is not like COVID-19, anybody is dying, there is no state support is coming. So similarly, people are going. So this is one example which I'm just how community are understanding the importance of risk on their own when they are affected by disasters. In a catastrophic situation, they have not been able to look at those things in the same manner as they are looking at COVID-19. Catastrophe, the coastal community, they might be thinking on a regular basis that they get affected. So how these two governments can actually see that as a positive story which is coming up, can be taken up into at a discussion stage at the state level to actually start for building financial tools, financial resilience in the state for coming 1 or 2 years of action plan. What is the take of Tamil Nadu government? And then we'll get back to, and then we'll also have questions from the audience. Those who are sending, I'm raising this question on agriculture. This has come up from the this audience itself. So can you react from Tamil Nadu? And then Professor George, I will ask your intervention after these two states finishes on that.
Okay.
Regarding Tamil Nadu state, actually the crop insurance also in the initial days, it was not picking up. There were a lot of problems, how to demarcate the area, measure the area, whether the block is a unit or the firqa is a unit. District was a unit once it was started. So a lot of issues will be there when we are actually going to the field level to ensure, and the field level realities will be then only will be realizing, and we have to incorporate all things into our model. Now only the crop insurance is successful. Those days it was very difficult to implement it. It was suffering for the insurers as well as for the government, for the public, for the farmers. Everybody suffered. Now they are able to reconcile, and now it is a successful model. We can say that. Like that, we have to venture out into these, and we have to study actually what the people require and what the insurance can cover, what the government can chip in, what the academic institutions can give some inputs from the world level experience. So we will be coming out in some successful model. It will be taking, of course, few years to come out with that. And we have to come out with a comprehensive insurance to cover exclusively for the disaster management. That is a thing we require and we want, and that is a thing we have to work for that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Assam.
Yes. Yeah, it's just to reinforce the thing we discussed about that mitigation funding. Whenever we are discussing that mitigation fund with the departments, we thought about why not include that local bodies in that. I mean, PRI Institute in just assessing the things and all. So we discussed the priority of this insurance issues in gram sabhas and workshops. So whenever any planning or any insurance things will be, taken to the community, the first tier system is the gram sabha or workshop. So we are thinking of going from that level. We'll discuss these insurance things. If an IDM can help us with some sort of module or something like, we can take this to the community level, and we'll be just thinking of bottom up, and we are really serious about it to flag it in gram sabhas. And this time we thought about, and we are also planning for that for Assam State Disaster Management Authority. We are planning that SDRA proposal and other things we will discuss in the gram sabha level. Then it will be coming at the departmental level, and then it will be coming taking in its own course to the government. So we are flagging this issue this time in the Gram Sabha. We are thinking of that with we have discussed this issue with PNRD department. So maybe we are looking forward for this. This is some of the aspects we are thinking of. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Professor John, would you like to say something after listening to two states?
Yes.
Yeah, please.
So there are a couple of issues. First of all, let me compliment Mr. Jagannathan from Tamil Nadu. He has been very modest in saying that there are things which we have to study. Actually, Tamil Nadu has done a wonderful job over the last few years. I along with my colleague, Mr. Deepak Godbole and Professor Archana Vase, we were there as part of their IFAD program, BTSLP, where they were showcasing the wonderful work which Tamil Nadu government has done. From the fishing villages to the fishermen, their boats, the people dealing with there is agriculture, small farmers. They have done a wonderful job at the community level, and it is and they have been supported by IFAD technically and maybe whichever way, but they have been able to do phenomenal work. I think it should be properly documented. My request to Mr. Jagannathan is that the work which has been done by Tamil Nadu government has not been seen by the country in full. Kindly document it, and so that it is something which we can share with everybody. I'm also happy to hear from our friends from Assam, Mr. Manivannan, talking about their intention of working with communities. Yes, yeah, Mr. Manivannan, there is a lot which we can do along with communities. We have studied, one of my colleagues, we have studied the entire spectrum of community-based organization in the country. We did a landscape study for the country from Insurance Institute of India. We did, visit the people who were goat rearing populations in the hills of around 10 states in the country. There are people who work, at that level, and no insurance company will be able to afford to go and insure them. This is because there are communities which are built there with the help of the government and with the help of the state governments. That is why they have become insurable, and it has really worked. there is the Dan Foundation, there is the Uplift Foundation, who have all worked at that level. You know, when we look at a PM's dream of covering the entire country, these are the organizations with which we have to work with, who are at a grassroots level. We need to work on that. If somebody is interested, I can share with you the copy of the researches which we have done on that. Actually, they are available on the Insurance Institute website as well under research, free of cost. You know, there is nothing that we do with costing. And somebody was asking
Okay, well,
questions. Yeah, pardon me. Yeah, somebody was asking a couple of questions about Insurance Institute courses. I wouldn't like this forum to be used to talk about Insurance Institute because you know, it is all available at our website. Kindly visit our website, and you can send anybody who wants further information can contact me at thomas@trippli.org.in. So you know, or the NIDM can give you my address. I can type it out also. Not a worry. But I'm not answering Insurance Institute specific questions in this forum. And is there anything else which I need to talk to you? But there is one point which somebody raised in the chat box about parametric insurances. Parametric is definitely one of the ways of dealing with this problem, and of course, it's one of the time-tested ways. We can always parametric will be always there whenever we deal with NatCat, because we won't be able to individually assess each small household, or each small farmland, or each loss. So we have to go by the district collector's report. So to that extent, we need to have parametric models, otherwise things won't work.
Yeah, and like many countries, what we are saying that what Tamil Nadu is saying, they have their own experience. Assam is saying they have their own experience. Gujarat have their own experience. Many states, they are implementing agriculture insurance is there. Catastrophic insurance for earthquake was implemented in Gujarat in 2001 after this post-earthquake. So that example could be considered as Tamil Nadu was saying that how this risk could be amongst different stakeholders. And that's what the model which was adopted in Gujarat. Similarly, many international models are also there now being worked out, because the disaster is actually impacting hugely on the finance of the country and the state. And the state, if they have to bill and they have to come out from those, that people have to be resilient. So financial resilience is coming as one of the important concerns for the state government and also to the national government. And you say that in Mexico, I will just refer to that. There was a concept of Fonden, that is Fonden, which provides comprehensive risk management services at the national level and supporting the states, the federal states, and every state's contributed as a kind of a consortium kind of approach. And it was funded annual levy on the federal budget and also encoded in law, so that it was made as a legal, so that payout could be done very, very quickly. So in India also, that what example I was referring to, in Turkey, they are simply state government owned and government backed, with the private insurance program was brought in. In Philippines also, GSIS program was there. So what I'm trying to mention here, there are national examples, there are international examples. We quickly have to work out in the terms of kind of a way ahead roadmap, that in 6 months of time, what we are going to do, whether we are going to educate or inform people, where we are, have we done the risk assessment of our state? Unless it is not done, probably it is difficult to implement. The second stage could be like that risk quantification, that how much is the financial loss likely to happen in the state. Then state readiness, which institution, I'm asking these two states who are there and many other states who can respond, who are attending, that who would be the championing department and sector who would take under the larger leadership of the state disaster authorities. But SDMA will push this, as what Krishna was mentioning. How does the institutional arrangement would be made at the state level for going for insurance? Suppose you need to do the insurance awareness program, risk awareness program, risk quantification of the program. Whether some part with the SDMA, how SDMA is defining their role in that, how the Department of Finance can work in the State Department, what kind of an institutional arrangement would be there for engaging private sector or engaging kind of what are the things which are coming as institutional support? Any other audience who would like to ask the question at this stage from the states and the answer and the panelist? And I will check whether Dr. Vatsa is here or not. And then in the meanwhile, I can take up 2-3 questions. And but before that, I would just check with Mr. Bindal. General Bindal, are you there in the listening to the discussion? Probably I'll be missing anyway. So what is the arrangements, which likely arrangements or plan, which I was proposing as an IDM, that were how to start and go ahead with this? Not only participating 2 states who are there, but the states who are engaged in the discussion today, they can always suggest that how we can think of, you can raise your question. Please, 2 states in the state, and then we will look from the audience if any comments are coming. As arrangements, institutional arrangement. Like I have questions, I will read it out. You can combine. Question 1: how does the budgetary allocation is best basis to instead of insurance basis? One is this: whether we should go for budgetary allocation basis. One. The second is how does insurance effectiveness on ground are documented. This is another question which has come from the audience. The third question is to Professor John. Do you think the losses in agriculture sector due to disaster are given the deserving assistance by the insurance company? And fifth, what are the planning of the modernized fires? That is not related to insurance, but fire. How do you think parametric can play a major role? But before that, all these questions and SDRF, I would first ask the questions to the states. While answering, you can respond to this. How and what kind of institutional arrangements do you envisage when we talk about engagement of an ITM and NDMA for taking the this building finance and resilience of the agenda point 2 in the execution of the state for risk coverage? What is your suggestion from Tamil Nadu and this Assam? Please.
We may require that I'm very happy to note our Professor IA Mumbai already visited the coastal areas, and he was shown our IFAD project. IFAD projects is where the small scale pilot basis we are able to ensure something, and only livelihood activities like boats, nets, and other things connected with the fishermen. But what is the basic thing is our coastal area is spread out, nearly 13 districts, and our area is vast, and mostly these disasters will be stuck in the coastal areas. And this is the vulnerable areas, and we have to cover large number of huts, houses. So we have to scale up these activity. That is why we are doing lot of pilot-based activities. And we request that NIDM or the IA Mumbai to come again and at the state level after a month or 2, so that we will be having a deep study with all the stakeholders, and we may come out with studying all the pilot-based projects, and we can select some 1 or 2 good projects, and we try to scale up these activities so that will be a model. Normally, the Tamil Nadu state will be a pioneer in most of the welfare-oriented or development-oriented schemes. And we want to be doing some service to this sector also, where everybody is new to this insurance sector in the disaster management area, and we may cover a lot of things. I request for the management institutes to come here, and we will be having a field level study, and study before that all the pilot based projects. We will be having a look on that. We can come out with some successful models in the future.
Mr. Jagannathan, one more question, probably that has missed out. I'm suggesting, like you are saying, that insurance could be a possible mechanism for the state, and agriculture you have implemented extraordinarily well, and that was known for to the country that yes, it was that. Now, when we are talking about catastrophic insurance, as you said that they are missing many things, they are losing many things, so that is not getting compensated. If we are starting as a kind of insurance for the execution in the state and the building financial resilience, which department under the SDMA, State Disaster Authority, of course, they will be leading this entire initiative. Which other departments would you think, and other partners, whom do you think that we could start with engaging? And IDM, of course, would be there with you, and III would be there. And but how do you say the capacity of these organizations who can be brought in the insurance can be taken care of? Do you think?
One is
please.
agriculture regarding the crop insurance, and the second thing is the revenue department. These two are the vital.
So you suggest revenue department be a vital department for this insurance.
And agriculture for the crop insurance, because already they had some experience. And another thing is health department also. We have done a lot of activities in the health insurance, CM's health insurance scheme. So that is also going on well. It covers a common man, poor public, as well as the government servants for so many years, nearly about, say about 8 or 9 years. And we have done a lot of activities in the health insurance also. We can rope in the health department also.
Just, what's your part? Dr. Vatsa is joining. So that's the model which you suggested, that whenever we are starting this discussion in the state, so India has almost a similar kind of a model, almost all the states, department structure and all. So you suggest that revenue department, SDMA, state disaster authorities, and agriculture department, because they have been already playing a major role in agriculture insurance. Along with that, you said the health department, because health is major. 4 major departments you are suggesting as a part of the group, other than the NDMA or NIDM and the other institutions like III. That's what I have understood, Mr. Jagannathan, because you have been in revenue so long. So
I'm not.
What I have suggested from your side, that this is the model which you're suggesting in the state. What is Assam? Do you think the same?
Yes, I just want to add some 2-3 departments, maybe for rural infrastructure or this Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana or anything like this rural housing. I think PNRD department is a crucial department, and urban development department linking with the infrastructure, insurance, and other things. UDD is a major player here. I think these 2 departments are maybe included. And I just want to share with in Asdama, we have done a damage and loss estimation of Guwahati city in earthquake scenarios of 1950 earthquake and 1897 earthquake, and we have estimated the what will be the level of loss in if there is an earthquake striking of that magnitude of 1950 or 1897. If it is striking in Guwahati city, what will be the quantum of loss that? So we have quantified that thing and field validated it. Now we are trying to make it a tool for Guwahati Development Department or there is a Guwahati Development GDD department. We are sharing with Guwahati Municipal Corporation and GMDA or GDD how to go for insurancing and other things in a phase-wise manner. So this is a challenge for us, but we have the data set with you. Now we have to think of how to go for an estimation of that whatever we have calculated technically in that project. So this is a challenge for us, but we are in touch with the other departments how to go with. So in that perspective, I think UDD department and PNRD department is useful for this framework what you are thinking of. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for giving 2 more suggestions that how the rural and urban can also be made as a part of it. And we need to have a kind of a dialogue with the state government also, and have a highest level policy support. that we need to go ahead with this, and this is the model which definitely it would be initiated by your own department as a state disaster authorities in the respective states. Dr. Vats, are you there? Have you joined again? Dr. Vatsa? Jacqueline, can you check with him, because he just called me and I requested him to rejoin.
Sure, sir, I'll do that.
Just to check that. So the readiness, we can say that the advantage of this particular webinar, which we were thinking, I'm asking any district magistrates or district administration office who have joined, have any question at the district level, how they see the discussion which is going on. आप लोग में से कोई भी अगर बात करना चाहते हैं, anybody who would be interested can raise that question. I know that I have noted a couple of questions from you. So that is this concern which we wanted to find out. Dr. Vatsa, are you there? In the meanwhile, Professor George, you have listened to these two states and they have suggested that model and engagement of the institutions.
Yes.
What is your immediate reaction and the questions which I did before you?
Yes, I was quite impressed with what they have done in Assam. So they have been working with the Munich Re insurance company. Please correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Manivannan. So, and the part of that, the part which I want to focus is that they could make realistic estimates of the losses which can happen. They could do some predictive analysis and find out, okay, this much could be the loss which can be expected. So that kind of an assessment is what makes insurance work. And more than a dozen hardcore insurers and reinsurers are there attending this session, and it will be music to their ears to know that one state has gone forward and assessed its risk, and that makes things very much easy for insurance companies, because often that is one of the major challenges which we face when they insure something. They don't know how much could be the loss. So here, or how much is the values at risk. So these kind of questions have been addressed very successfully in Assam, and credit goes to the department for that. So that is something which I wanted to note with interest. And secondly, there is no one size which fits all in the country. That is, you could be having parametric, you'd be having individual based, you could be having mutual models, you could be having a specialized insurance company model. There would be something which is on the micro insurance model. But then what about larger risk? For that also there will be different risks, different models which are working, and everything has to be I quote from what Dr. Santosh Kumar was telling earlier. It is all ex ante approaches. We are not talking about anything which is exposed. The entire planning which insurance companies do is ex ante, years in advance, before things happen. We need to plan all the financial planning. We need to make all the financial planning so that everyone is successful. It's a win-win game for everybody at the end of, whenever something happens. So that is my suggestion to people.
Thank you, Professor George. Dr. Vatsa, Jacqueline, can you unmute him, Dr. Vatsa? Because he's there, but he's muted. Dr. Krishna Vatsa, NDMA.
Yes, sir.
Have you unmuted? Dr. Vats, are you there? Can you hear me?
So he hasn't joined yet, sir.
He has joined. He said that he's muted. Can you call his office again? So what Mr. George has mentioned and what the two states are time and again referring to, I'm raising this question to Dr. Vatsa, member NDMA, to reflect upon, because he's seen other countries' experience in the execution, and he has been there in the Finance Commission also. How and these monies, like the money which have been allocated as a kind of ex ante application, when we talk about how the institution could be strengthened to take on, and they have some they have requested the support for NDMA and then IDM, along with the for the building financial resilience of the execution of the Honorable Prime Minister Point 2 forward. Dr. Vats, can you just share some of the which state government can take forward as a kind of a way ahead? Dr. Vatsa? Just a second. Let me check.
Sir, Santosh sir. Sir, I could not see Dr. Varsa sir.
Is there, is there?
Let me find it.
The attendees.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. What is the name, sir? Exact name? May I know?
Krishna Vatsa. Vatsa. VATSA.
VATSA Vasta.
He comes
No, no,
as
it
Krishna
is
Vatsa. He comes as Krishna
Krishna
Vatsa.
Vatsa.
Yes. Krishna Vasta. Yeah. I have,
Kindly
Kalidu.
yeah. I have
Shift
unmuted.
him to panelist.
Yeah. I have
Okay.
shifted. Shifted. Edition.
Can you hear me now?
yeah, I can hear you. Could you listen to my question? What the discussion went on? That is went on just half a minute. And states I was saying, hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, now I can hear you. Yes.
States are of the view that this is the important initiative and how this country can take for implementing the insurance. They're looking forward to the NDMA and NIDM and other which taken agriculture insurance success they have shared the need for extending the scope to another area and also which is coming up as a kind of suggestion that they can take up and share responsibilities with the state government and also the insurance companies and the public people themselves, and also that the finance commission's money can go as a that's what a model which was. What is your take on this? And the second is that what kind of an institutional system would be requiring for taking this insurance?
So can I?
Yeah, please.
Okay. So one most important step is, I think there is a lot of background noise.
Kindly unmute Balaji. The unnecessary voice is coming. Some parts must have opened this.
I think I would suggest the organizers to mute everybody and then let Mr. Vatsa unmute himself and speak. So a lot of crosstalk is coming.
Yes.
Okay. Hello. Can you hear me now clearly?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So one important step is to develop the mitigation guidelines. These mitigation guidelines are NDMA has now taken steps to develop the mitigation guidelines. I hope these mitigation guidelines would be shared with all the states. If they have not been shared with the states, I would suggest that the states reach out to the Ministry of Home Affairs and ask for the draft mitigation guidelines. They should review it carefully. And the most important priority and the next step perhaps is that we collectively approve the mitigation guidelines and start implementing them. What it requires is that we lay down very clear steps how the mitigation projects would be approved. As every state has a sizable allocation for mitigation, they need to be spent on well-defined projects. How these projects need to be developed has been specified in the mitigation guidelines. Now, one is the developing the guidelines. Second is how do we review the guidelines? So we have suggested a technical advisory committee that would review all the mitigation projects. Once it is reviewed by the technical advisory committee, there would be a project approval committee which would approve the mitigation projects. There would be a national mitigation portal. So all the processes need to be undertaken digitally. All the mitigation projects be entered into an online system so that we all know about the mitigation projects being implemented by all these states. So there is a big vision attached to the mitigation fund. I hope that we are able to, as a system, we are able to realize that vision. And once we are able to set up this procedure and process for the mitigation guide, it is also expected that resources would flow from other channels also, other development projects also. So mitigation fund is not a standalone fund. It could also become a catalyst fund for pooling resources from other schemes, other programs, and it becomes a much bigger multiplier force in terms of making an impact on hazards and vulnerability. So that's really the vision. Thank you.
They are also wish to know about the building this insurance component in this entire process of, they have the framework also. So how they are going to include this insurance as a kind of an option for
so risk transfer is very much part of the mitigation, and mitigation fund does allow for the risk transfer mechanisms to be developed. But again, when you develop such a insurance program, it's very important that those those insurance programs are viable and sustainable, that we are able to set up a good risk pool, which is financially viable. So it all becomes a matter of appraising the project, the risk transfer projects, and seeing if an insurance program is really feasible. But if they are expecting that the premium for the insurance program should be paid through the mitigation fund, that is not permissible. No, that would go against the spirit of the mitigation fund. So yes, developing an insurance program, yes. Setting up a risk pool, that is yes, but not the regular payment of premiums through the mitigation fund.
Your point is this, we can take up all the preparedness for execution of events like risk awareness, risk quantification, state preparedness in the readiness, institutional support of the strengthening.
Yes, definitely.
All these forms, the state government, which you are raising this question, that how the state's readiness for insurance. So all these support would come, as you are asking about NDMA support and IDM support, and all from all these support from what Mr. Dr. Vatsa has mentioned at this stage. So this is very, very kind of impacting statement that we are there and collectively we can develop as a building financier we are moving towards. And Dr. Vatsa, for your kind information, they have mentioned that we should have kind of a way ahead plan and yearly should this at the point of yours, we are now is time we are already going to up. Dr. Vatsa, if you wish to say anything at this moment.
No, thank you. Thank you very much. Thanks for inviting me. What I would suggest is that you conduct a half-a-day workshop with all the state governments on Finance Commission's recommendation, so that we have a more in-depth kind of a discussion on various recommendations, the implementation, the way forward. So please do consider that. I think we need to interact with the state governments on these issues. Thank you.
Thank you. Your suggestion is very well taken, and I will request ED and IDM also to take this suggestion in the spirit of building financial resilience and helping the state. Can I hear from any of the panelists would like to say, Mr. Jagannathan, as a last point from your side?
Very happy for this session, sir. We will be taking forward the instructions or the information input we have received in this webinar. And thank you so much for this nice program.
Very much. We are grateful to you and your time that you came out and suggested many things and also shared your initiatives by the government of Tamil Nadu. Thank you very much. Mr. From Assam, we can have Mr. Manivanan's place. I'm sorry that your name I'm forgetting. You have been contributing. Mr. Rajesh Datta.
Yes.
Do you have any?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's a privilege for us that we are being invited in the webinar. It's best wishes to NIDM we are looking forward for helping us in capacity building and disaster risk financing in future scope. And besides that, already I have mentioned that NIDM can always develop a policy framework for the disaster risk financing. This is the thing I think NIDM can help us. And as Vatsa sir was talking about just going for a some sort of webinar or something like on discussing on the guidelines of 15th Finance Commission. That will be better for state to more clarify regarding the schedules and all the listed items and what we can invest in the mitigation fund. Thank you. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Professor John. Would you like to mention as a last final word from your side?
A really interesting meeting. I could get a lot of good points from the state governments, as well as it was a pleasure listening to Dr. Krishnavatsa as usual. And the thing is that it gives us a lot of confidence from NIDM as well as from III, because we have been working on this area and we have been interacting with all the industry seniors, all the reinsurers and insurance companies in India. So we are really happy to get this kind of feedback and find this much of interest in the chat box as well as in your presence. So that we are happy that we are moving in the right direction. And I'm happy that Major Bindal is here, as well as people from different states. So it gives us a lot of clarity, and even we can take back something to the PMO. I'm sure Major Bindal would do that, and Dr. Santosh Kumar. So we have got a lot of inputs from all the people. I'm thankful for that. And anything with insurance in the Insurance Institute of India can do further with you, we are always happy.
Thank you very much to all the distinguished panelists and Dr. Vatsa, keynote speaker from NDMA, as this program was conducted jointly organized by NDMA and NIDM. I request Major General Bindal to address and giving the final. A lot of things have come on the NIDM's lap because state governments are having a lot of expectations from post-disaster need assessment to the drafting framework, and also Dr. Vatsa has mentioned that we should be having more informative workshops on Finance Commission's recommendations to the state government, so that they have a very good grasp on the Finance Commission's recommendation. So, Major General Bindal, what do you have to say on this? The concluding remarks from your side.
Santosh, in this last 2 years, a lot of valuable discussion has taken place, thanks to your moderation. And a large number of issues have come out. One thing which has come out loud and clear is lack of clarity of the provisions of 15th Finance Commission. Each stakeholder is seeing it in a different way. And hence the last issue which was told by Mr. Krishna Vatsa of holding state level webinar to understand the provisions of 15th Finance Commission is, I think, the first step that we must do. At the earliest, we must have a structured, I'll say 1 hour of technical session wherein the provisions of 15th Finance Commission is explained, and based on today's discussion, a suggested framework is also given to them. And then 1 hour of discussion wherein all the states can ask questions, clarify each other also, because many states have gone way beyond. They have already spent the money and a lot of states are lagging behind in a large way, that they have not even spent 20% of the allocated budget so far. So this disparity needs to be removed, because everyone needs to prepare equally. So that is only possible maybe due to lack of understanding, or maybe they are not being able to spend this money, because this 29,000 crores must be spent, which is also a very low figure compared to what the country requires. But still, it is 114% more than last year. But it must be spent. There should be no carryover, so that the government is again allocates resources, and that much mitigation efforts are taken, that much response activities are strengthened upon. But for all that, the understanding is very important. Common understanding is important. And in the next webinar, we can call someone from the 15 Finance Commission itself, who are part of it, to explain some provisions in detail, where some questions are arising. Which department to handle? Every state has got a different mechanism. Somewhere most of the places, the revenue department is handling disaster management. So it will mostly rest the department which is handling disaster management. They will be the custodian, and of course they will allocate to different departments, like Assam brought out about urban building and PNRD. So that is a separate process, but custodian will be one department, which will be most probably the department handling the disaster management also, which in most cases is generally the revenue department. One odd state has made a separate disaster management department, but that is an exception right now. So to conclude, I will say that whatever we have discussed today, once they're put on paper, they will form the basis of a questionnaire for the next webinar, which should be conducted at the earliest with all 36 states and UTs only as a participant, so that it becomes a closed, smaller level participation. And we can have Professor George Thomas is always there, and 2-3 more CEOs of major insurance industry also, because everyone spoke about risk transfer, everyone stressed upon risk transfer. So we can have 2-3 the working group that we have, a few of them also as part, who can talk about the risk issues, and maybe we can help propagate risk transfer in a better way. So with this, I thank everyone, all the participants, Professor George Thomas and Jagannathanji, and AAP Assam's disaster management and Tamil Nadu disaster management, and Professor Santosh Kumar for conducting a good webinar. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, General Bindal, for taking this note, what has been suggested for the discussion for the last 2 deliberations. And it was indicated that an IDM would be organizing for informing the state and have a deliberate discussion, detailed discussion on the recommendations of 15 Finance Commission. And this would be the part of this PM agenda point 2 itself, that how to build financial resilience and to understand this financial allocations which have been given in the this Finance Commission. And Dr. Vatsaj also mentioned about this framework, which is with the Ministry of Home Affairs, that we can bring it together, and the model which has been suggested by General Bindal, that we can bring those, one is CEOs of insurance companies along with the state government, and let them ask these questions, 1 hour presentation and 1 hour detailed discussions and clarifying confusion. I think that would help. And today also that we had invited district magistrates and the letters gone to the chief secretaries. And I'm happy that all 2 hours, almost 200 participants participated in these deliberations and enjoyed the discussion. And I'm sure with the kind of money which is we are talking about, 40% in response, 30% in long-term recovery and reconstruction, and 10% preparedness and this capacity building. That is very much needed. And Dr. Vatsa also highlighted the state level institutions have been in a very kind of not in a capacity to spend these money also. So how that SDMA and DDMAs can be strengthened. Last question which I had from the delegates. I'm just reading out. That is on how you think that DDMA can be strengthened to take this further on. So this is on that to the state government. They are there, and we can take up this issue also in the next webinar. I extend my heartfelt thanks to Dr. Krishna Vatsa and Sri GVB Sharma, who is not here, but the participation with the National Disaster Authority and NIDM together. We had this workshop, the webinar, and participation by the state government, Mr. Jagannathan from Tamil Nadu, Mr. Rajesh from Assam, Mr. Manivanan is not here, he had depicted him, and also Professor George from III, along with my team at Jacqueline, Balaji. He worked well in this, making this as a success. A lot of suggestions which have come up, and we had also during the deliberations identified some way ahead with the state government, and the state government has requested NIDM to support in taking these insurances in the forward by way of developing framework and developing a kind of awareness, taking PDNA, quantified assessment, and so on and so forth. So collectively, we can work together with the institutions, our partner organizations, and also NDMA. So on behalf of the National Institute of Disaster Management, on behalf of Major General Manoj Kumar Bindal, Executive Director NIDM, and my own personal behalf and behalf of the National Disaster Authority, I extend my heartfelt thanks to all the delegates and distinguished participants who have attended this program, along with my team once again. And thank you very much. And we take the permission to close this workshop. Should I go ahead for closing? Dr.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, folks. Thank you.
Thank you.